Welcome to this Gump report with my ear in the shot. Damn it. Welcome to the Gump report. You never know what you're going to get, and this is about Jon Moxley. Now, I just finished doing my Dynamite review, so this is being done literally right afterward. I don't have no problem saying it. Like most people would not say, but everyone knows when you want to get a whole bunch of stuff back to back to back, you got to record it back to back to back. So next I could have changed my shirt. I ain't doing that damn shit. I'm not going to be like some people would have got to change their clothes every single time. No, you're going to see me as I am, baby. But this is by Jon Moxley. Now, what do I think of the situation with him? I'll give it to like this. We've never really heard that much about Jon Moxley being an alcoholic. Does not mean we never heard Jon Moxley being very erratic. Jon Moxley has always been a very unique character. Being from Cincinnati, Ohio, he has not been one of those people. Pretty much certain parts of Cincinnati, Ohio, no. How can I say this? Not botching Cincinnati. It's one of the rare times I've ever said the word. Literally. But it's not much different than Bronx, Brooklyn, some parts of New York that are really, you don't want to be near at certain times of the night. Just like Bronx and Brooklyn. You don't want to be walking around knowing full well the gangs will fuck you up. Because there are gangs in New York still. Don't you damn think there ain't no gangs. Crips and Bloods is still here. Crips and Bloods are still in New York, just like in most cities in the United States. They still exist. They're here. It's just they can't do a lot of business because a lot of people have been sick. But let's make this clear. Cincinnati, Ohio has its own points, and he's lived it. It ain't been easy. So I'm not too surprised that he would have some type of alcoholic problem. Some wrestlers are going to have alcoholism problem or drug problems. It happens. They can be having depression problems. Like, remember, Eddie Kingston has stated that he has depression. I think he also has anxiety, but I think he has depression. So it's not something that's uncommon to see any wrestler have a problem. But it's a question of if they're willing to get some help. This is something not many people understand about the wrestling business. When you have a problem, you freaking suck it up and shut your damn mouth and just keep working. Think of wrestlers like Japanese corporate. Literally. Japanese corporate and wrestling are pretty much the same. They have certain rules, certain taboos, certain rituals, certain everything. Yes, it's gotten a little more lax in Japanese culture for corporate. They've eased up a little bit, just like pro wrestling has eased up several things, particularly when it comes to the Me Too movement, which really messed up a lot of wrestlers, innocent and guilty. If anybody thinks that there weren't some innocent people accused on Twitter, you got another thing coming. There are people who were innocent. They were just set up, and others who were not. So the cultures are pretty much very similar. So you keep your damn mouth shut when you have pain, when you have frustrations. If you have problems with your family, suck it up. You got to work. You work in some cases 200 to 250 days out of the year. Some wrestlers almost work 300 days a year, counting whatever situation they're in, either as wrestlers or people in the back who write the shows, who set up the rings, who does the majority of the stuff in production. Wrestlers also do that. Some wrestlers transition from being wrestlers into refs. Some just transition from refs to just on-screen personalities. But they still have to follow what goes on. Like commentators, they stay on all the time. Only time when they've ever had a real break was during this pandemic, when they could not work the way they normally would. So, we know this. Jon Moxley had multiple problems over the years. One, he caught a staph infection really bad and almost died. Another was how he was being treated in WWE, where his frustration was reaching a point where he just said, I'm not re-signing, I'm leaving. And they buried his ass on the way out. And then after that, his rise into AEW, where a lot of people were quite happy with him, where others were saying, how the fuck are you going to let this guy have this opportunity in AEW is an old WWE guy. Who gives a fuck about him? This is the things that this guy had to deal with. Now, mind you, his own wife that he met in WWE, Renee, pretty much has been there all this time and had a child by him. So I have no idea how his mental state had been, along with drinking, had been with her. Did she even know what was going on, counting if he was home enough to notice? And if he was, how was he reacting? I'll give it to you like this. What probably prompted him to finally get something done was probably because of his daughter. I believe it's his daughter. He has a daughter. And if I'm right, there must have been a situation. And this is only speculation, guys. Speculation. As someone who lived in a house, now I'm saying this is now personal. I'm now not acting like Zayn. I'm acting like the person who is the person behind Zayn. As someone who grew up in a house with an alcoholic and in a house with a heroin addict. My mother, an alcoholic, who also took Valium to deal with her depression, and a half brother who was a drug addict who took heroin. I lived with them. I grew up with them. I'll give you this as an example because this actually did happen. I was maybe 12 or 13 years old, and my half brother Wayne, from my mother's side, I know many people say, well, that's your full brother. No, we don't have the same dad. He came and went from our home, on and off lived with us. One time, he came in with drugs. My mom was pissed at him. And she said, what are you doing with these in my home? And he said, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything about it. And when I found this out, I was so angry. I said, you better get the F out of our home before I beat the hell out of you. And he said, really, going to do something? And my mother told me, go in the room. I'm going to talk with him. So I was angry, pacing my room. This actually happened. And when he came into the room, he said, and pretty much he was still mad. He said, you think you're so big now because you're almost as tall as me. You want to try something? And I literally got him into a headlock. And I was trying to choke him to death. And I was never a very good fighter as a kid. I used to get into fights because people used to pick on me. And I used to somehow, literally somehow, was able to get behind the person because I was able to run really fast and move around and get them into a headlock, and I would not let go. Literally wouldn't let go. And in this situation, I got him into a headlock. We were in my room, and we were fighting on my bed. And I got him into a headlock, and he was locked. I had my legs wrapped around his stomach because he had a big stomach at the time. And my mother, luckily, came into the room and said, let your brother go. Stop trying to choke him to death. Now. And I released him. But after that, I don't really remember our relationship after that because he didn't really come around that much after that. After that happened, he rarely came over because he used to come around periodically, stay for a few weeks or a month or so. Then he'd be gone for maybe about a month or so. But after that, he would only come maybe once a year, twice a year, for a day. And that was it, just a visit, and he wouldn't stay the night like he used to. That ended when he did that. So I think what might have happened is this. He probably went home. When he was home, while Renee was pregnant and gave birth, while he was with her for a while, his alcoholism showed itself. He probably was drunk while the child needed him. And something might have happened. Now, I'm not saying that as someone who drank, I don't drink. That's the result of growing up in an alcoholic and a heroin addict home. I have no interest in drinking, drugging. I don't smoke. I literally only drank 20 times in my life. I have no interest in drinking. None. I'm a very boring person, guys. I've only drank 20 times and people had to beg me to do it. Literally. I'm that type of person. But I think that's what might have happened. As a guy who was the one who had to be in the home with those type of people. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I love my mom, but she was not a very stable woman. Drinking and taking Valium for depression, she was never stable. Not because she didn't love me, but she was just off. That's just how she was. And I'm sure what might have happened, maybe, was that he was drunk and something happened where that could have endangered the child. And that must have set off Renee, or must have set him off to finally say, you know what, that's it. I'm not risking my child. I'm doing this. I'm going to get cleaned up for my child. I will not risk her again. Or my wife. You don't know. It might have been something about Renee that needed him and he was too drunk to do anything. It might have been that. Now, what does this mean for him going forward? Well, he's going to have to go through the 13 steps. He's got to get cleaned up, and then he has to go through the 13 steps to become sober. He'll have to go to the meetings. He's going to have to make sure wherever he goes, when they start moving around, when he goes back to going into wrestling, that he has to go to those types of meetings, probably daily if he can, counting on when they travel, where they are. Can he find an AA meeting to make sure that he can talk to whoever he needs to talk to? And that's going to be difficult for him. Let's be honest here. Jon Moxley is a well-known wrestler, a well-known personality. There's going to be people that's going to recognize him. So his fame is going to be an issue. But as a wrestler, as a personality on television, he's going to have to deal with it. If he wants to make sure he doesn't hurt his wife or hurt his child or next child if he has another one, he's got to do it. It must be done. If he really wants a stable home and keep his wife and his child safe and happy. Now, how will AEW deal with this? Now, it's not much different than any wrestling promotion. They're going to be understanding. Look what happened in the very opening of Dynamite, because I'm doing this after my Dynamite review. They pretty much said Jon Moxley's not here. We give our hopes and our prayers to him. We really believe in him. You hear CM Punk in his segment before he even does anything with Kingston. He legitimately said, me and Mox are not friends. Not really great friends. But he's going through something. I understand. Yeah, I wasn't in that situation. Like, we know Phillip Brooks doesn't drink. He lived in an alcoholic house, like myself. So he's not a drinker. He just isn't. So he understands working hurt, trying to be a tough guy, but sooner or later it catches up with you. As a wrestler, getting injured is part of the job. But the stress of the job, the stress of the injury, the stress of your family gets you after a while. And Jon Moxley started drinking because of it. He probably did it because he just wanted to be social. Then when things started piling on top of him, when he got the staph infection, when he had to leave WWE, all that might have caught up with him. And then the pandemic hit, made things even harder. You never know. All that could have piled onto him and made him drink. Now, I'm not justifying him. I'm not justifying him. I don't think he was a Jimmy Uso, was driving a car and almost hurt somebody. I'm hoping that was not it. Because he checked himself in on his own. So that means there was no police involvement. So that'd be good. I'm hoping there's no police involvement and no one got hurt. I hope his child didn't get hurt, and I hope Renee didn't get hurt. I'm hoping. But if he's voluntarily he realized almost something might have happened, and he voluntarily said, holy shit, I almost hurt somebody, someone I care about, I'm getting help. If that's what he did on his own, we should commend him. Flat out, 100% commend him. Do not say he's nothing but a piece of shit because he's a damn alcoholic. No. There are people out there that become alcoholics because of an issue. Not always you drink because you're a nut. You drink because something happens. Maybe a relative dies. Maybe you have some type of problems. Maybe you're just lonely because of something going on. Things happen. But if you're willing to get help, willing to say, okay, I just noticed this. I almost hurt somebody. I almost hurt myself. I'm getting help. And that could have been it. Either he could have almost hurt Renee. He could almost hurt his child. Or maybe he almost ended up hurting himself. And he was saved by someone, maybe Renee. You never know what could have been. So by him, and I'm hoping his wife and kid are safe. Nothing happened. It almost could have happened, but it was caught really early and no one got hurt. But I'm so hoping that when this done, he will say once he comes out that he gets exactly what he needs. He keeps on the AA. He keeps going to his meetings. He gets a sponsor because you need those types of things. You want to stay stable. And he goes from there. That's what I'm hoping for. Now, that doesn't mean it will work. We don't know yet. He just checked in. It could take 3 months before he comes back clean. He could end up like a Kurt Angle who went in a second time because he went in once before. It didn't work. And then he went, no, he went in once with his second wife. First wife, what is it? I forgot her name. It's been so long since I thought about Jeff Jarrett's wife and his own wife. But Kurt Angle was a drug addict and he was an alcoholic. Well, drug addict actually, because of the pain. But he got himself help and he's been clean ever since. He hasn't messed up. So let's just hope Jon Moxley can do the same thing. But this is just my point of view, and I hope you enjoyed this Gump report, baby. Give me a comment below. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace.